Are you thinking about moving to London soon? Unsure of what to expect? Well, this video is for you. Hello everybody, welcome back to Sarah Says. If you are new here, my name is Sarah and I moved to London last year when I was 18 and I am coming up nearly a year of living here, and I thought I would share with you guys or newcomers who have just moving to London the top things that I wish I knew before moving here. I have a nice warm cup of tea because the first thing that I would love everybody to know is how cold and miserable the winter is here. I had to go buy some more warm clothes because, yep, it is very unbearable. The lack of vitamin D, everything. That is one thing that I was very unprepared for, was the winter here, but that's okay because you get through it, I suppose. But let's get into the video. So the second thing that I wish I knew is about the transport. Now, when I first came to London, I kind of assumed that you needed an Oyster card to use their public transport. However, this is a common misconception. You actually don't need an Oyster card, you can use a contactless card, just the same you would as you would use a Oyster card. However, this little side tip that I'm about to give you will save you money. So, London is very expensive in transport, very dear. It kills me every month, every week. Just most of my money goes towards transport. However, I learnt this tip very late on, 9 months into my lovely time of being here, that I could actually save money on transport, on the tube at least. So what you're going to do is you're going to get yourself an Oyster card. You can get it at any store that sells newspaper. I can't remember, off-licensed store. You can get it at a station, probably one of the Central stations, or you could do what I did and get it online. You're going to get an Oyster card, and then you're going to go on National Rail National Rail UK. And then you're going to look up Rail Card. I'm pretty sure you have to be under 35 to be eligible for a Rail Card. Don't know why. So you're going to buy yourself a Rail Card for a year. Now, this is a really good purchase that I made. It was £30 for a year, and it gives me a third off every national rail, so I can go to Scotland for like £50 return. That's where I was New Year's. It was so cheap compared to like £150 return. No matter. A third off every single kind of train journey. Then, what you're going to do is you're going to go to an Elizabeth Line station. I went to the one at Ealing Broadway, and honestly, I was a little bit like, is it going to be a hard process? It is not. You're going to talk to a member of staff, and they're literally going to go onto the little ticket machines, and they're going to connect the card, and then you get a third off-peak journey on the tube, and that saved me so much money. I went from spending £30 a week to about £16, £15 a week. It is so good. It's only worthwhile though if you're traveling off peak, which is what I usually am. But I mean, you can work around that. That's the other thing that I'm going to tell you about, is that the London transport works, the charges and stuff works in zones, and it works in peak and off-peak times. Off-peak time is maybe I'll explain what peak time is first. Peak time is from 6:30 in the morning to 9:30 in the morning, which you get charged a higher rate. And then peak time in the evening is from 4 to 7. Once again, you get charged the same rate. It is quite expensive traveling in that time, so a lot of people I know try to avoid that and go earlier to work, especially if you work the 9 to 5 job. Just go earlier and go to the gym or something, so you avoid spending those extra costs. I actually didn't know about this till quite late, that I was being charged more if I travel after 4 or before 9:30 in the morning. I just kind of didn't think about it until I looked and was like, oh, it is different. Annoying, but that is just, maybe I'm stupid, I'm from New Zealand, like, we don't really have that kind of stuff, we don't have good transport, so I didn't really know, but that is one thing to watch out for. Alright, the fourth thing that I wish I knew is that London is a very expensive place. Not one, not two, but 3 people who visited me this year has said that London absolutely drained their money. It is very expensive. You will need savings here. You cannot just expect to come to London and have nothing with you, because please, I'm telling you, you will spend that money like that. I did, and it's kind of scary. If you need a little bit of a gauge on how much you should bring to London, I brought over 8,000, 7,000, maybe 7,500 to 8,000 pounds. I would suggest more, because cost of living crisis in London's gone up. I would suggest about 8 to 9 or even £10,000. That's like 20,000 New Zealand dollars. Gauge. Kills me. But it is expensive, and it's just not something I thought about until I kind of, I've been living here a year and I've spent so much money on my daily life here, because when you move here, you're getting out and about, you're on the trains, you're just absolutely vibing with life. You want to see it all and eat stuff. I ate a lot of food, expensive food. I drank a lot of expensive coffee. I was in Central. I was just absolutely vibing and just tapping the car like non-stop. But it is just expensive. Be prepared. Have money. I kind of wish I brought more, but you know what? It's fine. We had enough. Because I would say I spent about 2,000 setting up my flat. People probably spend about the same. It's an expensive place, man. Just be prepared. You'll see prices, and if you're from New Zealand or Australia and you're like, £2, cheap, and then you do the conversion, you're like £4, $4, expensive. It gets worse when you know that you buy a cocktail for £16 when you can buy the same cocktail for $16. Kills me, absolutely kills me. But that's something to bear in mind before you move here, is make sure you have enough funding to set yourself up. I need to take a tea break. The fifth thing that to also bear in mind that I also didn't know is that when you apply for jobs, you get paid monthly here. I work a minimum wage job and I still get paid monthly. Nobody really told me this until I applied for my first job, and they're like, cool man, you're starting at the beginning of the pay period, you won't be paid until a month in. And I was like, excuse me, what? And it's rough. That's why I said back before, you need savings, because you will be living about a month or two of, even if you start them halfway through the month, you will only get half a month of pay, so you won't get a full month pay for 2 months. So you need to have money to back yourself up for that. That was something I really didn't quite expect. It was quite a challenge as well, knowing that I didn't get paid until a month of me working there. It was rough, and honestly, to this day, I've been working my job for like 10 coming up 9 months, and I'm like, every month it gets harder and harder to get paid monthly. It sucks, but that is just the reality of living here. I don't know why they do it. I work, like I said, minimum wage. Shouldn't not be paid monthly, but it is. And when you have rent to pay, it's a rough time. So expect that, because yeah, it's not ideal. It's not ideal at all. Just the end of the week, or like the end of the month, I'm really scraping the barrel, man. It sucks. And while we're kind of on the topic of rent here, it's a tricky game to play. I kind of knew, I had an idea of how bad the renting crisis was in London before I moved. I obviously moved in 2023, it's now 2024 where it's even worse. I'm not to scare you or anything, but it is a challenge out there. It's a tough game to play. One thing that you may want to be aware of is that some landlords are charging money to just view the room, so I would say don't go for that. I've known people who needed a guarantor, which is someone who lives here that will bail you out if you cannot afford your rent. Like, it's a rough game out there, but I suggest persevere. And my little tip that's gonna help you a lot is download an app called Spare Room UK and upgrade. Do the upgrade. It's £20, I think, for a month. Might have gone up, don't know. But it really helped me find my room and help calm my nerves and know that I got responses back, because before then I was applying for rooms, messaging, because you need a message before you view, and I was like looking and stuff, and they weren't getting back. But the minute I upgraded, people got back to me like that, and it was really good. And that's how I found the place that I'm in now. One piece of advice: if you are sitting and you're still in your home and you haven't moved yet, do not look or do not spend time looking at rooms to rent in London. Don't do it. Please do not even do a virtual tour. Do not sign a lease before you look at the room. You meet the flatmates. Just don't do it, okay? Because it's a rough game out here. You don't want to make mistakes. You're out here for a while and you pay a lot of rent, most likely. Just don't do it. Just please wait till you're here. I was that person. I was stressing out, thinking I wasn't going to get a place, but you do. You find a place. You just have to persevere. I got our place in 4 days. Some people takes 4 weeks, but just persevere. And that's why you need savings. So in case it does go wrong, you can just relax on the money that you have. Maybe get a job first as well. Yeah, that's my advice. Do not look for your hair. Alright, if you are someone who thinks that you're unfit, well, prepare to be fit because you will be walking everywhere in London. I didn't think how much I would walk and how much walking I would do because obviously I would use the transport every day. I do use transport and I still do about 15 to 20,000 steps a day. Cool, I love it. I love walking. It's a great way to see the city, especially when you first arrive. You want to do all the touristy things and walk around central London. And it's great. I really enjoy walking now. But that's my piece of advice is get some good walking shoes because mine aren't amazing and my feet hurt all the time. So I'm used to it now, but when you first get here, make sure you have very comfortable walking shoes to avoid that sore feet, achy feet and stuff. Because yeah, I walk between stations to save money, or I will not take the bus somewhere to save money. I'll walk because I now see a 30-minute walk in my head. I now see that as a short walk. 15 even better. But in New Zealand I'd be like 30 minutes is so far, I might as well drive. But it's really hard because you can't drive here, you rely on public transport. Or because obviously London's in zones. If I'm in like zone 1, but I know I'm close to zone 2, I'll walk to zone 2 to save money on the tube. It's just little things. And walking's great. It's so much fun. Great way to just get your heart rate up, I suppose. And it's so like cost efficient as well. You don't need to spend money on a gym. The 7th thing that I wish I knew is that London hard water destroys your hair and skin. Okay, it's rough out here. Like the water is known as hard water. It's got lots of chemicals in it to keep it safe drinking water. And that means my hair falls out quite easily. I can just pull it like that and just a clump comes, like not a big clump, but like a lot comes out. When I'm combing my hair, when it's wet, a lot of hair drops onto the comb. It's kind of gross actually, and scary. I have terrible eczema, my skin is always dry, and maybe it's the cold weather, but I think it may have something to do with the water. It's not the first time someone has told me about that. If you're from a really good drinking water, like New Zealand has such supreme drinking water. When I came here and I had to fill up my bottle, I was like, this is horrible. How am I gonna get used to this? I'm used to it, it's okay, but do expect that like shock. The water also turns white things grey. That's fun as well. It's not great here, and yeah, I suggest getting some really strong hair oils or get a filter. I've got one on my shower. I don't know where she got it from, but you can buy them on Amazon, I know, and they're pretty good, but I still get the hard water effects. You just can't get rid of it. And another thing that I didn't know about was the lime scale. You have to de-lime scale your kettle, which is very strange because of the hard water it creates. This like lime scale. That's a really common thing as well in big cities, I've heard. I'm not from a big city. I'm from a very small city, even though it's the biggest in New Zealand. I'm still from a very small city, and we don't have an issue. We don't have that issue. But it's just something that I didn't know about, something I wasn't really aware, or how bad it was. I think I know some people who have like seriously bald spots on their skull. I'm okay, I think. My hair's definitely a lot thinner than it used to be, and less curly. Like, this is all my natural hair. I used to be blonde, destroyed my curls, but this is like as curly as it's gonna get from the hard water. Not ideal, but something to bear in mind. The last thing I'm gonna tell you that I wish I knew is how big pub culture is here. And honestly, I absolutely love it. It's gonna be the one thing I'm gonna absolutely miss about the UK. Pub culture. It is supreme. It's the bread and butter. I love it. But that's where all my money goes. Drinking, it just absolutely flies out the door when you buy alcohol. But honestly, it's I go to the pub all the time. I'm in a pub every day. I work in a pub. Like, I'm just surrounded by alcohol, so of course I'm gonna drink it. But I think a lot of people say that that's where all their money goes, is towards food, drink, eating out, and doing fun activities. There's always so much happening in London, and I think when you're here temporarily, like I am, I just want to do it as much as I can. Like, I'm always like, bye, yes, let's go, do it. Oh, new event, book. Like, I'm always trying to do as much, make the most of it out of London as I can. So that's where all my money goes. So the biggest kind of takeaway I've learnt from being abroad is how to budget, and if that's a skill that you don't already know, I can make a video about it. It took me a really long time to figure out a way or figure out how to explain budgeting to people, because it's a really good skill and it's one that I've definitely developed over my time here, because it's a very important thing. One thing that I also didn't know about, and I think it's going to be the last thing I will tell you, or the last thing in this video, is that you don't get paid as high as you would in other countries. New Zealand, you get paid quite high, pretty good. Same in Australia, like especially hospitality, I get paid minimum wage. Minimum wage is not high, it's £10.60. It's not ideal, it's like, that's still 20 New Zealand dollars. Our minimum wage is a lot higher. And that's not a common thing. It's things like business, you don't get paid a lot. Like doctors don't get paid a lot as they would in other countries, and nurses as well, teachers. Like it's not, your pay is not ideal because that doesn't match the living crisis, and that's why there is such a bad one here. But you can make it work. I can make a video on how I make it work on minimum wage if you're, planning to work in a pub, which is great, by the way, highly recommend. But budgeting is definitely a skill that you will need, or you will need to learn. But I think that is everything I wish I knew, and I really hope this helps you newcomers. You will not regret your decision, that's the one thing I will tell you. Maybe I gave a bit too many cons about living in London, but honestly, best decision I've ever made. I love this city so much, it's so much fun. And yeah, please like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm going to Europe in less than 2 months, so I'll be making so much content around my trip to Europe. I'm also moving out of London. I've made the decision that I probably won't come back. A year was enough for me. Absolutely loved every single moment of it. But once again, I will be doing videos. And if you need more videos on how to move to London, follow me, man, because I got it. I did it at 18. You can do it at any age. It's a great decision. It's a hard one, but it's great. And yeah, that's all from me. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hope it helps. And yeah, I'll see you very, very soon. Mwah.